every single decision that Prime Minister Carney has made since the campaign has been completely the opposite.
We've got a grim outlook for Canada. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today, we're going to be taking a look at parliamentary budget numbers showing that the public service is absolutely ballooning out of control. Despite cutting 10,000 jobs, the numbers are still going up. On top of that, we have more companies leaving Canada, more crime, corruption, and chaos. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got this from the Globe and Mail. Canada must be ready to get its elbows up to stand a chance in the post-Trump era. Well, what is this nonsense that the Globe and Mail is running? As Ryan Garrettson points out, the media are trying to prepare us for elbows up again. Getting tired of this. Yeah, everyone's getting tired of this. Got this one here. It says Quebec plans to table bill banning prayer in public. I'm a big fan of this. Let's do this across the country. No more public prayer. Go to your mosque, go to your church, go to wherever, not in the streets. As long as they enforce it on Muslims, yeah, it has to apply for everyone. Moving ahead, Mark Carney posted this on his X account. For over a decade, members of the Canadian Armed Forces have trained Ukrainian soldiers. Today, that mission is more important than ever. Ukraine's fight is our fight. No, it's not. Their fight is not our fight. If it's our fight, Mark Carney should be sent to the front lines and really put his money where his mouth is. It is when you're trying to start WW3. No kidding. Seems like Mark Carney wants to keep the Ukrainian laundry machines running versus actually getting this conflict solved. Regarding Ukraine's fight is Canada's fight, let's just flip the tables here. Say Canada was involved in a conflict with another country. Say America started attacking us or Russia started attacking us. Would Ukraine come to save Canada? Would Ukraine send us billions of dollars? Would they send troops? That's the question. I think we all know the answer is no. No, they wouldn't. Moving ahead, we've got this one. 2 homes sell for nearly 600K losses in Toronto. Just huge losses from these houses. So first one here, Brampton house recently sold for $555,000 less than what they paid for it. And another one in Mississauga, $700,000 less than what they paid for it. I guess that's what you get when you're buying a cottage for $1.9 million. Moving ahead, Kirk, with this one, Canada current account trade deficit, goods and services. Quarter 1, 2025, 0.8 billion. Quarter 2, 2025, 19.5 billion. You can see the drop off here. It's absolutely astronomical. Not good numbers for a nation with abundance of commodities and known to be an exporting economy. Yeah, extremely alarming data. This guy pointing out here, hey Kirk, it's widened from 19.5 to 21.2 billion. That is interesting. It's perpetually getting worse. Maybe it's time to change the strategy, or it's all according to plan. We see this one here, net outflow of cash leaving Canada. As Market Mania says here, capital's leaving Canada faster than ever. It's like it got a hard elbow to the head. I mean, look at this. It's just like out of nowhere, kaboom, money is leaving Canada. Our country is so uninvestable that companies are leaving in droves, and we're seeing that here today with Crown Royal now leaving Canada. They'll be laying off 200 people. It seems that elbows up didn't pay off in the end. Maybe negotiating good faith would. Got this one, union vows to fight devastating closure of plant that bottles Crown Royal. Good thing we have an economist as a PM, right? Yeah, Mr. Banker, Mr. Goldman Sachs. Mark Carney driving businesses to America where he's 91% invested. It looks like everything is going to plan. Mark Carney's plan to make himself rich. Moving ahead, we've got CBC has just revealed that they have hired at least 20 foreign workers in their Ontario offices for a variety of roles, including tech, marketing, and broadcasting positions. Traders. The CBC are a bunch of traders. When there's a job crisis, they hire people from outside the country and they use taxpayer money to do it. This is disgusting. CBC should be shut down. They are fat with government money. They're so biased. They only represent 40% or less of the populace. Less than 40%. Moving ahead, we've got this one, breaking Canada's labor market. Payroll employment decreased by 32,900 jobs in June. On the year-over-year basis, Canada's payroll employment is only up 41,000 jobs. We issue more work visas to foreigners every month than that. Private sector is collapsing and the public sector bloat continues. So that's what we see with this chart here. Private sector collapsing on all fronts, and the only thing that's up, arts, entertainment, and recreation, and the public administration here. The public sector is bloated, and that's what we're getting here with this bombshell report here coming from Yves Giroux, parliamentary budget officer. Federal government is set to spend an estimated $71.1 billion on salaries, bonuses, and personnel costs in 2024, despite having shaved off 10,000 workers from the public service last year, according to Canada's parliamentary budget officer. So the costs have increased, but we've reduced 10,000 workers. How is this possible? So we're going to look at the data here. This report here from the PBO is back from a couple years ago. And you can see here, even back in 2021, 2022, 2022, it says the estimated increase is 32.5%. So this increase has just been happening rapidly since about halfway through Justin Trudeau's term. And it's just continued under Mark Carney's. It's only getting worse. So this chart here is basically a projection and an estimate. We look at the top here. This is from April 4th, 2023, from 2 years ago. So this dark line here is an illustrative scenario. And then this blue line is their estimate, total personnel. And they have it projecting out to 2027. So we'll look at these numbers and then we'll look to today and see where this falls in. You're going to see here on the side, it says 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. That's in millions, which is basically 30 billion, 40 billion, 50 billion dollars. And you can see when Stephen Harper was in power, it was right down here, around 38 billion dollars. Trudeau gets into power, boom, it's instantly up over 40, 42, something like that. Goes up to about 45, jumps up to 60, and that's where this report kind of ends. Then they have their estimates here where they thought it would go. The estimates running out to 2027. They thought maybe just under $60 billion. And as you just heard, well, what's the reality? It's $71 billion. That's where we're at right here. And the projected increase is going up over $76 billion by 2030. It's all right here. You can see by year, Stephen Harper left power right here. So once again, $38 billion. And here they are added up. This only goes to 2023 to 2024. So this doesn't have the final year on it, but you can see the increase here from when Justin Trudeau takes over, 38 billion up until here, $60 billion, 23-24, add in $71 billion, which we just saw on this article here, $71 billion on salaries. That puts us well over the chart. This breaks this chart up here, $71 billion. What's that increase when the Liberals got in power, Trudeau and now Carney? It's 77% increase in public sector spending, despite having 10,000 less jobs for the last year. This is increasing astronomically despite cutting jobs. And you might be wondering, how much are these people getting paid? Well, it says here, expected to jump to $139,400 by 2030. If you add in all their benefits, the average cost jumps to $170,000 per person working for the government. And we keep hearing all these stories of CRA personnel sitting there and watching TV all day long, getting paid these big fat cat salaries. This bloated spending needs to be cut. Here's a graph of full-time equivalents. You can see once again, 2015, this is when Harper got out of power. So Harper got in at the beginning here and then it went down. Trudeau gets in, it goes up. It's all the same thing. The Liberals just keep wasting money on people, on consultants, on all this stuff that doesn't help Canada, sending our money to gender-sensitive farming in Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo. It's all a bunch of nonsense that's making us poor, sending money to Ukraine, sending money to Gaza, and not taking care of Canadians. It will go down as one of the most disgraceful acts from a government in Canadian history, what they've done to Canadians in the past 10 years. Moving ahead here, we've got Conservative Adam Chambers dropping some truth bombs on CBC.
Mr. Poilievre also panned the Prime Minister's decision to lift some of the retaliatory tariffs last week. He says, if he was in charge, he would put in countermeasures on the Americans. Do you support hitting the U.S. with more tariffs?
Well, if we look at Mr. Carney's rhetoric during the campaign, and then we judge him by what his actions have been since the campaign, it's basically the complete opposite of what he promised Canadians during the campaign. He campaigned on, we'll have our elbows up, we're going to drop our gloves when someone challenges us. But every single decision that Prime Minister Carney has made since the campaign has been completely the opposite. He has given many concessions to the Americans, yet it is unclear whether we've gotten anything in return. Maybe that's why President Trump basically endorsed Mr. Carney during the campaign and said he didn't really like Pierre Poilievre that much because we would have been maybe more difficult to negotiate with.
But do you support tariffs? Do you think that's a prudent approach?
JP, I think you have to, we're not at the negotiating table currently. We don't know what's going on. Is it possible that the only way to get Americans talking to Canadians again was to reverse the tariffs? I'm not sure, but we have to look at the entirety of the deal when we do see a deal to judge Mr. Carney on whether he's able to secure one. I mean, Mr. Carney's.
This is a really fair response here because they don't know what's going on with those negotiations. Only Carney and his team knows. And it's not even probably most of them. It's probably only Dominic LeBlanc and Mark Carney, maybe Melanie Joly and a couple others, Anita Nand maybe, but Carney's probably keeping this pretty close to the chest, what's going on with Trump.
And I mean, Mr. Carney said he wanted the job. We had to hire he said, hire me, hire the Liberal Party because we'll be able to negotiate to Donald Trump and stand up to him. Yet, his actions are not in keeping with that same promise.
As you have mentioned, there have been some concessions. We dropped the digital services tax. We did not match U.S. retaliatory tariffs on steel and aluminum and autos and lumber. And now we've just dropped the retaliatory tariffs on some of the other goods that we had in place. There have been concessions, and there hasn't been a deal. They blew past that August 1st deadline. There were some talks this week, but Dominic LeBlanc, the minister charged with negotiating this deal, left Washington earlier than planned. How soon does Mr. Carney have to come up with a deal to satisfy you, to show you that those concessions were worthwhile?
Well, to be fair to the government, negotiating with the Americans is not an easy task. They are, have picked battles and fights with many other countries. So, Mr. Carney has a tall task ahead of him. I do think, though, questions need to be asked about the extreme change in strategy. Was Mr. Carney even committed to tariffs in the first place? Did he mislead Canadians by saying he would have elbows up, knowing he was going to make concessions in the future? Or is this truly the only way that we could get the Americans talking to us again? But even if that is true, JP, we have to ask ourselves how we got here in the first place. Mr. Trump's actions and tariffs are unjustifiable and not in keeping with the spirit of NAFTA. That is the most important point. But the second is liberals, senior liberals who are still senior liberal cabinet ministers, and even the prime minister himself and the former liberal prime minister has spent the last 10 years actually harming the relationship with Americans, antagonizing them. You just mentioned the digital services tax. There's the global minimum tax. There's the electric vehicle mandate, which, by the way, there is no possible way that our government is going to be able to continue that, not just because it's antagonizing to the Americans, but because it's just absolutely nonsense policy for Canadians here at home. And these are actions that the liberals have taken that haven't just antagonized Republicans. And President Biden warned very starkly against imposing a global minimum tax before the rest of the world did, and a digital services tax. He warned Mrs. Freeland of that when she was the finance minister. She is still a senior minister in the Liberal government. The Democrats warned the Liberals that this would be a problem for the relationship. Republicans have warned the Liberals that this would be a problem for the relationship. And the only bipartisan consensus in America right now is that the Canadian relationship with the Americans has been strained. So I think, we have to be self-reflective about how we got here. We need to figure out a way to get out together. Conservatives have mentioned to Mr. Carney, we've offered our hand of support, whatever we can do to help secure a deal, by the way, that Mr. Carney promised he could get, we would be willing to do. But I think it's still fair to ask questions as we go through this process. Why are we reversing the strategy? How did we get here in the first place? And how do we get out of it together?
All right, let's leave it there.
That is quite something. The simple fact that Joe Biden was warning the liberals that they would be hurting the relationship. This is Joe Biden, Democrat Joe Biden, lefty Joe Biden. And they still went ahead with all this stuff, Online News Act, Streaming Act, the digital service tax, all these things that would irk the Americans. They still did it. One must ask, what is the liberals' end game? What is their end goal? It's not to do what's best for Canadians, that's for sure.
Well, I think that the Prime Minister has been really clear, hasn't deviated one bit from the promise and commitment that he made to Canadians about strengthening and
Just listen to this nonsense on CBC. Wow.
deepening the ties, diversifying the ties, the partnerships and relationships to rely.
Okay, we're not going to listen to this dribble. It's just more propaganda on CBC. Mark Carney hasn't done anything. Let's just call it as it is. Moving ahead, we've got this one on CBC. It says Parliamentary Budget Officer says 3.2 million new homes needed to close the housing gap. Oh, really? This problem has been around for years now. The Liberals brought in this problem. They have no intention of solving this problem. They're pretending they're going to solve the problem, but they aren't solving the problem. Why would you bring in millions of people every year trying to satisfy the Century Initiative and then say, oh yeah, but don't worry, we're going to build a whole bunch of homes. They're bringing in more people than the homes they're building. It's not even close. As it says here, PBO projects about 227,000 new homes will be completed each year until 2035. Yet they're bringing in millions of people every year. This deficit of homes is going to get worse every year. So according to his report here, it says they'll need an additional 65,000 each year to be built just to close the gap on housing. The only way this gets fixed is cutting off immigration completely, deporting a whole bunch of people who shouldn't be here, and then increasing home building, incentivizing home building to astronomical levels. And even then, it'll take years to fix this problem that Trudeau, now Carney, is supporting. And while we're deporting people, maybe we should deport people like this. This guy walks in here, stands there for a bit, grabbing his stomach, and decides, you know what? I think this is a good spot to drop a hot Carl. Why not? Look, there's a little piece of grass here. Yeah, this will get the job done. Just drop it right there. We need to bring in serious penalties, $2,000 fines for doing this stuff, $10,000 fine. We can't have people just dropping hot ones wherever they want. This is a biohazard. And people asking where this is, we know where this is. It's Brampton. It's right there, Brampton. Next up, we got this one. The housing construction slowdown is spreading across Canada. Q1 2025, new homes were down 89% in the GTA and 77% in Metro Vancouver. Construction should be accelerating. The industry has come to a virtual standstill. When you have the two biggest markets in Canada coming to a standstill, everything else follows. It takes about 3 or 4 months in the real estate world for the prices to follow. Construction will probably be a little bit longer than that. And this will be a ripple effect. So when this finally starts getting going again, if it ever does get going again, it will also be a slow ripple effect across all the other communities around these major hubs. How many new arrivals do you see living in tents on the streets? The only housing shortage is for the people who used to live in them. That's not a problem for the government. It's happening just as planned. There's no reason to build anything new. It would be counterproductive. What a comment. That's true. New people coming in aren't the ones living in the streets. It's Canadians that are getting pushed out of houses and are living in the streets. Our tax dollars going to new people here who have not paid a dime in taxes to our country. It's disgraceful. That's why our system before was so good. We only allowed the best and the brightest in our country who were not going to burden our country but build it up. The Liberals are trying to replace the Canadian population with people from abroad. Speaking of housing, we've got this one. China is now selling these small affordable homes that you can buy at Walmarts in America. You'll never see these come to Canada because this would affect Brookfield's profits. Mark Carney's lining this up. There's no way he would allow this to happen in Canada.
妈呀，好大雨啊！真都湿了。
Thing looks like a spaceship.
进水了，吓我一跳。幸好我这房子装了避雷装置。小杜，你说我要洗澡啦。好的。啊，舒服。还是待在家里看电影最舒服。
You're not seeing that in Canada anytime soon. If those were to be built to be used in Canada, they would need to have proper insulation. Unless you're going to plop them down like somewhere around where I'm at in Vancouver Island. Most of the rest of Canada, you're going to freeze to death in that thing. Oh, and here it is here, $47,000. Vespod. Moving ahead here to lighten things up, we've got Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's motorcade getting chased through Ballarat by a convoy of angry farmers in tractors. This is what's happening in Australia. Well, I've seen it all now. Just imagine if Mark Carney was getting chased around by tractors in downtown Ottawa. That would be hilarious.